It's time to review the new Selkirk Vanguard Control, the new hot paddle from Selkirk. If you're a Selkirk fan and you want to have more spin and you like the control, stay tuned. So first off, let me just start by saying I played the Vanguard 2.0 for over a year. That was my tournament paddle. I loved the paddle. It was soft. It was plush. The only knock on it is it didn't have spin. So then when the Project 003 came out, obviously I moved to the Project 003 because it had spin. It had all the same characteristics of the Vanguard 2.0, but it had control and it had the spin that I was missing. Then when they came out with the LUXX, this is the commercial version from the project, right? The Project 003, they came out with this version here. This is the commercial version for $250. It had the spin and it had the control. Now we have the new version of the Selkirk Vanguard Invikta Control, the Selkirk Control model. The biggest knock on the grit paint is the grit paint wears off. It wears off faster than the carbon face paddles. We've known this because we have guys like John Kew who have measured paddles degradation over periods of time. So he'll play a paddle and then he'll play it for a month and then he'll measure the spin again, and then he has that on his website where you can see how much spin is lost over the period of time. The grit paint, it does wear off a little bit faster, but this is a great paddle. It performed very well and it will last long enough depending on how hard you hit the paddle. The harder you hit the paddle, the faster it's going to wear down, and that's true for any paddle that you're going to buy. It's going to wear off a little bit faster if you're hitting the ball, you're crushing it all the time. Because I used to play this paddle, I've always loved this line. Now, if you are a power paddle player, this is not the paddle for you. Go ahead and move on. You don't want to watch this review because this is purely a control paddle. So what have they done differently on this guy? And is it too late in the market? They have always gone kind of countercultural. They've done their own thing. When carbon fiber paddles came out, this is over 2 years ago, they came out with the control-oriented paddles that are still thermoformed in unibody, but they are more control-oriented. They are not like the thermoformed paddles that are out there. This is their first carbon fiber face paddle of the Invikta line. Now, across the board here, all of the statistics are pretty much equal, except this guy here has the most spin out of the paddles I'm showing you right now. This has almost as much spin as the Project 006, but the Project 006 has a little bit more of an extended handle and a rounded top. So a lot of people didn't like the shape of that. But the Invikta shape, the S2 shape, and the Epic shape, all with this carbon fiber face, are super controllable paddles with a ton of spin. These are going to be in the high spin ratio. They're in the 2000s in the spin, so they're upper tier in the spin. The other thing I like about this paddle is the fact that it has a 5.5-inch handle, so it's good enough for the two-handed backhands for those that hit it. They did not do the thermoform, so it is not a sealed edge. It is not a Gen 2 unibody. This is a Generation 1 carbon fiber face for $200. That's a little bit spendy. There are other paddles out there that are a little bit cheaper that generate just as much spin, but a lot of them do not have this same body shape. So because this is a Vanguard Control, this is the same core, same plush soft core that they had, they just put a carbon fiber face on it. You can look at the microscopic pictures here. It is still the typical carbon peel ply face. It has tons of spin, but how does it perform? So let's listen to Roger Dugas. He has a review on this paddle. He's been playing this and he's played multiple versions of Selkirk. Let's see what he has to say.
I've been playing with the LUXX for a while now, and I just switched to the Invikta Vanguard Control paddle. Love both paddles. I think the Invikta may be a little softer for me. Power's not really an issue. Yeah, I like the spin, the grip. Weight-wise, I have them about the same. I think I like with the switch to the Invikta has been playing a little softer in my resetting. The LUXX seems to bounce off a little bit more, but the Invikta is a little softer. Allows me to reset the ball better from the baseline, playing defense. Like them both. Power air is great as well. 006 I've played with a little bit. I think for me, really, 006 and Invikta play pretty similar. I think I just like the shape a little bit more of the Invikta here. Wish to be different. I don't know, maybe a longer handle. I don't know if this is the longest they have. You know, I have big hands, so I think, you know, maybe a little longer handle. I weight my paddles always right here by the handle on both sides. I put a pretty significant amount of weight, and then a little bit on the top corners as well. I've never weighed my paddle, so I'm not quite sure what it's at. If I don't put it anywhere, I think just being so long and big, I think I may swing a little too quick through the ball if I don't put some weight. I may even need a little bit more weight than what I already have. It seems a little light, but yeah, I've always put weight on my paddles.
Thanks, Roger. Obviously, Roger likes the paddle. It performs well for him. Let's watch me play the paddle. I'll talk to you about the shots that I'm hitting and what I think the paddle is good at and the things I was struggling with when I was first playing it.
Right off the bat, I was able to really serve the ball deep and get all the way to the back because you can just swing away with this paddle. It's super light. So I was very impressed with how light it is. So you can definitely modify it with lead tape, weight it up the way you want, but you can tell it's not a Gen 2 thermoform unibody paddle because of the head lightness. I was actually very surprised with how light the head felt. It took me a little bit to get used to the timing because my hands were so much faster when I started playing this paddle, but the spin was definitely noticeable, and I really had no fear of the ball going out of bounds. You can see how I'm just hitting the back third of the court, no problem. So you'll have no problems with placement on this. It really felt like you should be able to just place the ball wherever you want with this paddle. Even with the elongated face, it is very controllable. Now, I think this paddle definitely has an advantage with the dip, but you are not going to get much power out of this paddle. So it's going to need a little bit of help with lead tape if you want to get more pop out of it. But if you like to hit dipping drives and really put a lot of spin on the ball, this paddle is going to perform really well. You can tell it's a high spinning paddle in the 2000s, I would guess. Have not looked at the measurements yet, but definitely with the placement of the shots and the spin, it's going to be good from there. Now, I think this paddle really performs well in this metric with the drops and the resets because of the control aspect of it. Really had no problems with getting the drops in. Actually, at first, I was hitting the drops short because of how soft the paddle was. Realized I could increase my grip strength a little bit, but you can see that it's very controllable from the back line and just resetting when someone's banging it at you or you're just trying to get the ball over from the back line. You can put a little bit more oomph into it because of how soft the paddle responds. And I like the fact that I can actually put some spin on it on the different various shots because of the spinability of this paddle. Spinability is a word. But able to get myself up to the kitchen. I like to win most of my battles up at the kitchen. Soft game is where my game is at. So if you need power, definitely this is not the paddle for you. But if you're a control-oriented player that can generate your own power, you can just see that you can just reset like it's your job, and hitting third shot drops and resets when people are driving it at you, not a problem with this paddle. This is where I think this paddle shines, is in the kitchen play. This is where most battles are won at the higher levels, and so taking this paddle is almost like an extension of my hand. Like, you'll be able to really put this ball where you need to put it, and because it can spin real well, I could hit cut dinks, you can hit topspin dinks, you can really move the ball around. Even though it's an elongated shape, I found that the control on this, it definitely is its namesake, the Selkirk Control, because it was almost like cheating. Like, I was giving these guys pedicures, putting it on their left toe, right toe, making them move left to right because of the control of this thing. This paddle really excels here. This is definitely going to be my tournament paddle. The next tournament I play, this will be the paddle that I use. I was using the LUXX. I found that the LUXX has a little bit more pop than this, but I like the extra spin and control that this offers. LUXX has great control. This paddle has just about the same feels, probably the same metrics as the LUXX, although it's a higher spinning paddle. So I find that I used to not play with high spinning paddles. Now I really like high spinning paddles, and the Selkirk Vanguard V2 was my tournament paddle, and I used to say if this paddle ever had spin, this would be my favorite paddle, and this is exactly what it is. This is my favorite tournament paddle now.
Yeah. Really?
So once I started dialing this paddle in, it did everything I needed it to do. So this is going to be my new tournament paddle. I'm going to put my new Hesicor grip on here and see how this baby performs once I modify it a little bit. Just want to say thank you, Selkirk, for sending us this paddle for review. And thank you for those of you that are using our code. Helps us keep the lights on, helps us keep bringing you these great reviews so you can make informed choices on your paddles. By using our code, you'll get a digital gift card in the mail after 30 days. They want to make sure you're not returning the paddle. You'll get a gift card, and then you can spend that in the Selkirk store. But if you don't like Selkirk, you want to find a different option, a different paddle that we reviewed, check these out.